Easier? Some of the words are easier, but the concepts are hard. There's not enough time to go into every detail. Okay, so we ended off Kufnan Chesam Beis 158b in a very cryptic 4 lines yesterday. And we're going to have, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 answers. Got to figure out. The idea was that there was a letter sent, sounds like maybe from Eretz Yisrael, and there was some case of a son and a father. He sold something, and the response was, this is very difficult. Now we need to find a case that's very difficult. Any case we're going to present, which is easy to answer, is not the case that was sent from Eretz Yisrael, because we need a case that's very difficult. So, El Itmar Hachi Itmar. El Itmar Hachi Itmar, going on to 159a, Testament Aleph at the top. Ben Shemacher. So the first suggestion is like this: Ben Shemacher b'nixav. Now there's going to be one little difficulty here, and every case here is a big disagreement in the Rishonim of what it means. So we'll stay with the Rashbam. There's one little bit of difficulty with him. The Rashbam learns like this: simply, as the words say, Ben Shemacher b'nixav. The son knows he's inheriting property at some point, so he goes and sells that future inheritance. The problem is going to be in every case like this is going to be, how can you sell things that aren't here? Okay, fine. That's like a little bit the thorn. I don't know how to get around it, but the son sold property that belongs to the father, that he's going to inherit from the father, meaning the right to inherit. So the father has, 5 fields, and the son's like, okay, those are going to be mine very soon. So the son sells those 5 fields. Now, what happened? So the son died, and then the father died. So now the son died, and the father also died. So the grandson wants to come and collect. So once again, Yaakov is the grandfather, Reuben is the son, Chanoch is Reuben's son. So Reuben ended up selling his future rights to the inheritance. He ended up dying, though, in the life of his father. Then the father died. Comes the grandson, and he goes over to the buyers, and he says, and the halacha seems to be the grandson can collect from the buyers of the father. So says the Gemara, "V'zuhi shekasha b'dinei mamanos." This is very difficult. Why? The buyers of his father, the father's buyers, can tell the guy, go fly a kite. He said, your father sold to us, and you're removing it from us. What do you have to do with anything? You only inherit things which you inherit, but you don't inherit things your father sold. So why in the world does the grandson have the ability to go and take property out of the father's buyers? So that's the question. So this was the case that was sent from Eretz Yisrael. That was very difficult. Doesn't make any sense. The buyers can tell the guy, you have nothing to do with us. Get out of here. So now we're going to answer, no, maybe it's not so difficult. Why? Dilma Matzi Amar, maybe this grandson is saying, Mikoach avu de abakasinis. Listen, I'm not coming as my father's inheritor. I'm coming as my grandfather's inheritor. Maybe I inherit directly from my grandfather. Now, if I inherit directly from my grandfather, so then just like my father died and my grandfather was alive, and now my grandfather died, right? So what happened when the father died? Who inherits the land? His father, right? Meaning this guy's, 1 second, sorry. No, sorry, right? Yeah, this father, meaning Reuben in our case, sold future inheritance that he was going to receive from his father. The problem was he died in the lifetime of his father. So now when the grandfather dies, so really this is future inheritance that was going to go to his son, but the son died. So comes the grandson and says, I should be the direct heir of my grandfather. So therefore, this future property, the future inheritance that was sold by my father, it really belongs to me. So he never had a right to sell it. It was only going to be his if his father died and then he inherited, but since it didn't work out the way he died first, then his father died, so I should inherit directly from my grandfather. Now, who says a grandson inherits directly from their grandfather? Who says it works that way? Maybe the grandson is always stepping into his father's shoes and inheriting as his father. But in this case, we're saying, no, I'm coming directly. I'm coming directly from Yaakov. I'm stepping into the shoes of my grandfather. I'm not stepping into the shoes of my father. Why? So at least the Rishban gives one explanation. Because b'nei banim harein ken banim. Sometimes grandchildren are viewed like children. So just like Ruvain, the son, was going to inherit all this from Yaakov, his father, if he was alive when Yaakov died, so to me, I'm going to inherit Yaakov. I'm going to inherit Yaakov, and I'm not coming in place of my father Ruvain. I'm coming directly in place of my grandfather Yaakov, and therefore these properties never got to Ruvain. It was all supposed to be inherited by Ruvain if it worked out like that. It didn't work out like that, and I'm coming and saying I'm the direct inheritor of my grandfather. Says the Gemara, and we're going to go with this pasuk for at least the next Talmud. I'll prove to you in a verse that a son, a grandson, can inherit directly from his grandfather. Teda. Dichsiv tachas avosecha yihu banecha tasemu l'sarim b'chol haaretz. The pasuk says that it says tachas avosecha yihu banecha. So in place of your fathers will be your children. So it's talking to somebody, and it's saying in the place of your fathers will be your children. So meaning the grandchildren will be in the place of the grandfather. Or in the place of your father will be your grandchild. What case will be your child? So in the place of if they're talking to Ruvain, it's in the place of in the place of Yaakov will be your son Chanoch. So the verse seems to imply that grandchildren can directly take the place of their grandfather. And therefore, this was not so difficult. So this can't be the case that this can't be the letter that was sent from Eretz Yisrael of the very difficult case. It's an easy way out. Okay. It's going to be a bunch of complicated cases, but we could do it. So, Ella I kasha ha kasha really must be, this was a difficult case. Ben Bechor, so once again, Reuben's the Bechor. He ends up selling his birthright, right? His rights as a firstborn. That part of land, Ben Eli kasha Ben Bechor shemachar chelik bechora b'chai aviv. So Reuven goes and sells what he's supposed to receive from his father. We're like 8 lines down, Jared, on Kofan and Tassanal. So he sells what he's supposed to receive from his father, b'chai aviv. And now it happens, umeis b'chai aviv. Reuven unfortunately dies in the lifetime of his father. So now comes his son Chanoch, and he says, he goes to the buyers and says, and the halacha is, he can take the land out of the buyer's possession. Beno motzi miyada lekuchos. So, once again, the father sold a firstborn right that he was going to receive when his father died. Unfortunately, he died. Then the father died. Comes the grandson and says, "Okay, great. I want the rights of that firstborn." And he goes and removes the firstborn right, the birthright, from the buyers. Says the Gemara, this is a very difficult case that we had no answer to in monetary law. Why? Avua mazbin and ihu mafik. Your father sold things, and you have a right to come remove it. How do you? Whatever your father sells, he sells. Whatever you inherit is what your father didn't sell. Anything he sold, nothing to do with you. So says the Gemara, maybe he'll use the same answer as before. The grandson will say, "I'm not coming as my father. I'm coming as my grandfather. I'm in place of my grandfather." And therefore, what would happen if I come in place of my grandfather? Then my father never really had a right. It comes out to sell the firstborn, and therefore I will get it. Says the Gemara, hold on, there's a problem with that. If you're coming in place of Yaakov, the grandfather, so the chelik bechora ma'avidte. What does Yaakov have to do with the firstborn? If you're coming in place of Yaakov, so Yaakov never had a right to a firstborn. Yaakov's son had a right to a firstborn. So even if you come in place of Yaakov, why does that give you a right to receive the firstborn, to receive the birthright? So yeah. So So yeah, so says the Gemara, hold on, Umay Kusha. Dilma Matzi Amar. Dilma, maybe he could say, Mikoch Avua de Abba Kasina, Ubamakum Av Kamina. Meaning, I'm not just coming as the inheritor of my grandfather. It sounds like at first we thought I'm coming to inherit my grandfather. Since I'm coming to inherit my grandfather, the Gemara said, but you are not a firstborn. So even though you're coming to inherit your grandfather, but you have no right to this firstborn, to this birthright. And that the Gemara says, no, I'm not coming to inherit my grandfather. I'm coming to step in the place of my grandfather. And therefore, if I'm in the place of my grandfather, so okay, good. I'm coming mikoch avua de abba, the grandfather, ubemakov av kamina, but I'm standing in the place of my father. Meaning, he's saying I'm inheriting Yaakov, my grandfather, as if I'm Reuven. Right, meaning it's as if I'm the Bechor. I'm not standing as a grandfather because then there's no reason why I should get the firstborn. But I'm who was going to inherit the grandfather? The son was going to inherit the grandfather, right? So since the son was going to inherit his father, so I'm now coming to inherit as my father. Oh, no, he's coming to inherit his grandfather, but not as him. He's coming to inherit his grandfather as his father. As his father. That's what it is. He's coming to inherit his grandfather. So before we thought he's coming to inherit, as his grandfather, but that's nothing to do with the birthright. He's saying, no, I'm coming to inherit my grandfather as my father. And therefore, he can go and take away the firstborn from the buyers. Yeah. Okay. Says, okay, so that can't be the very difficult case. Third attempt. Right? Usually we always find answers, not questions, right? Now we're saying, what's this difficult question? Eli kasha ha kasha. This was the case. Okay, so now we're like totally switching track from grandfather, grandsons. So somebody knew testimony about something and he signed the document. Hayilo edus bishtar. A person signed the document. Now, what happened? He then became a thief. So now, when you have a document, they made an enactment. You have to, what's it called? Kiyum shars. You have to establish the document. So you have a document, and it's like the strongest proof. It's a very strong proof. You have to establish. How do you establish a document? So you prove that the signatures on the document are yours. Either you prove it, or they go to Beis Din and they find your previous signatures and they match them up with these signatures. Or witnesses come and say, I know these signatures. The point is you have to prove the signatures. So now, Reuben and Shimon signed on a document, and now what happened, or let's say Reuben signed on a document, now he actually became a thief. A thief cannot testify. V'naseh gazlan. He became a thief. So who eino made al ksav yado? He cannot testify on his signature because your testimony is not believed because you're a thief. So someone who's a thief cannot testify. It's a pasuk. The pasuk says, "Al tashchiyat im rasha lios eid chamas." You can't be someone who's eid chamas, and chamas someone who steals. So yeah. So now anything he says, we're going to view them as if they're a lie. Once he became a gazlan. Okay. However, acherim me'idim. Someone else can go and testify that this is Reuben's signature. So here's the difficulty. Hashta ihulo mehemen achrini mehemni v'zuhi shekasha b'dinim mamanas. So other people are going to go testify on his signature, and you're going to believe them, but he himself he won't believe. Why should you believe other people? The point is that maybe we view the signature as a signature from the time he was a gazlan already. You don't know exactly when it was, when he became a gazlan. So if you're worried he's a gazlan, and that's why you won't believe him, why would you believe other people about him? At the end of the day, you're worried maybe he's a thief and you can't believe a thief. So if you knew exactly when he signed, then it'd be different, I guess. But here you don't know. Right? Maybe he himself signed the document when he was a thief. Right? If he's a thief now, so you don't know when he became a thief. So then it could be he himself as a thief signed the document. So what's going to help you that someone else testifies on the signatures? The point is you're a thief and you can't testify for anything. So if your signature comes up in Bezdin, we don't believe you. The same way if you walked into Bezdin, we wouldn't believe you. If we see your name on a document, we're not going to believe that name either. So it shouldn't matter who testifies about you. So we can't validate a signature of somebody who's the thief. So that was the difficulty. How come you believe other people, but you don't believe the guy himself? At the end of the day, you shouldn't believe anybody because he's a thief. And if he's a thief, then there's no validity, there's no point in validating the signature of a thief. So, Ma'i Kosha, what's so difficult about that? Dilma kegon shehuchzak ksav yado bebezdin. Maybe you'll say, yeah, but we already have his signature. We already have his signature in Bezdin. Once you already have his signature in Bezdin, so then right, meaning we know that he signed this document before he was a thief, right? We took his signature down, so it was established that it was already established that he signed it beforehand. Then he became a thief. So now others can testify on his signature, because if we know he was a thief beforehand, if you know he was not a thief beforehand, they can validate the signatures. He himself, though, can't validate his own signature, because right now he's a thief, so any testimony you give is not going to be valid. Yeah. So therefore, it's an easy way out. That's why others can testify, and he can't testify. It's where we know he signed already from when he was not a thief. He was a permissible witness. Now he became a thief, so now he cannot validate his own signature, but others could. Okay, fourth attempt. Similar case. He knew testimony, and he signed an ashtar. Now what happened? There is a series of deaths that happened, and now all of a sudden he received the inheritance. So the money in the document ended up falling to him as an inheritance. Someone died and someone else died. The third cousin or whatever it was now received the property in an inheritance. So now who ain't a yachol lekayim ksav yado? He now, once you're receiving the inheritance, so you're nogea. It's called you have vested interest over here. Anybody who the money's going to him, he has vested interest. So you can't go and confirm your signatures. And then the Bach adds in the same question as before. It's so difficult. Why? If he's not believed, how come others are believed? Same problem. Maybe he signed from when the money was going to him, and therefore he's not believed at all. So how can others be believed? Says the Gemara, same thing. Maybe we know that when he signed this document, he was not fit to receive the Yerusha. He was, third or fourth or fifth in line, and therefore he signed. Afterwards, now a whole series of events happened, and the money's coming to him in an inheritance. Now he can't confirm his signatures because he has a vested interest. Must be that others could confirm the signatures. Okay, I think we're up to this number 6. Ela ikasha hakasha. Haya yodea lo be'edus. So he knew. You see, when a letter comes from Eretz Yisrael from big rabbis, you're going to stand on your head to figure out what they meant. Yeah. So this is a great example. Haya lo edo edus. If I say something, no one cares. Right. Oh, because the air is clear there. Yeah. That's the problem. They didn't make aliyah. Right. So haya lo. That's a good question, right? Apparently, even though it was written in Israel, it doesn't come with the same clarity if you read it out of Israel. That is, yeah. You signed a document, and all of a sudden you become a son-in-law of the person you signed to. So once again, who ain't a maid? He can't test the he can't confirm his signatures, but others could confirm his signatures. Says the Gemara, maybe he signed when he was already a son-in-law, and therefore nobody should believe. Maybe you'll answer the same answer as the last few answers. No, we knew already that he became a son-in-law only after he signed. He signed before when he was still single. So now the Gemara jumps up and says, no. The Ha'amar of Yosef Bar Yumi, we have a statement of Rav Yosef Bar Yumi, Amar of Nachman, in the name of Rav Nachman. This case is a case of Afal Pi Shelo Hukzak Sav Yado Bebezdin. This difficult case that came from Israel was not only talking about where we knew his status of when he signed this document, rather, it's even a case where we did not know his status. Therefore, this is very difficult. How in the world could he sign? But how could others be believed on his testimony? It doesn't make any sense. How is he allowed? So that was the very difficult case. So that was very difficult because at the end of the day, we have no idea when he signed the document, and now we have his name, but he has a vested interest. He's a relative. He's a chassan, so he's a son-in-law. So if this is true, so now what's happening over here? They're confirming the signatures of somebody who has a vested interest. So his whole signature is not good. So therefore, that was very difficult. That was the difficult case. How can this guy come now and collect? Or how can they testify for him and then it'll be a valid document? Says the Gemara, one sec. You're making a whole assumption over here that we don't believe somebody who has a vested interest because he might lie, because he has a vested interest. Vested interest, if you have a vested interest, then you might not tell the truth. Therefore, anytime there's a chance that you might not tell the truth, we don't take a risk. We don't believe any of your testimony. Says the Gemara, hold on. He says, the fact that you're not believed because you're a relative, it's nothing to do with that we don't believe you. It's a pasuk, the Torah says. It's a decree of the king. It's Hashem's decree. Relatives are not believed. It's also going to come up in Sanhedrin a month or two in. So the ihulo mehemni, the reason why you're not believed and others are believed is v'lav mishum de mishakir. It's not because we think you're lying. Yeah, we know you're a son-in-law. That's not why we don't believe you. And I'll prove it to you. And this is a very interesting proof. Dilo temahachi. So Moshe v'Aaron lechosnam mishum delo mehemnihu. Let's say Moshe and Aaron will go testify. Moshe and Aaron will go testify on their son-in-law. Right? And Bez's going to say, sorry, Moshe. Sorry, Aaron. We can't accept your testimony. So what's the reason? Because they're lying? Well, we hope not. Because then the whole Torah is going to be undermined. So it's not because we don't, what must it be? It must be that it's because of the decree of the king. It's a pasuk. Hachanami, Zeres HaMelech, who Shlo Yahid Al Ksav Yad Lechosno. So, therefore, it's not so difficult. Relatives can't testify because they're because of a pasuk. Others could testify. Says the Gemara. Okay, you're right. I'm a kabul. No answer. Ella, let's go back to the very first case. It's the very first case where the grandson is saying, I'm a direct inheritor of my grandfather. I'm not coming as inheritor of my father. I'm standing in the place of my grandfather, and therefore the grandfather's son, aka my father, never had a right to sell his inheritance. He was selling the inheritance that was going to come to him if his father died. He died first, then his father died. Me, the grandson, now I'm coming not in place of my father. I'm coming as my grandfather's direct inheritor, and the Gemara brought a pasuk. So in place of your fathers will be your children. So you see, I'm going to be directly in place of my grandfather. Therefore, his son, my father, never had a right to sell that future inheritance that was coming to him. Okay. So and that was the case. And then we said Vidika Kashalach, but the problem was that wasn't so difficult. Once you told me I come in place of my grandfather, and you brought me a verse, so then that's why I can come and collect. I'm direct inheritor. So what was the difficulty? So now we're saying, hold on, maybe that verse was not a teaching you a halacha. It was just promising you that you're going to have children that are going to inherit. It was a bracha. It wasn't a halacha. With the kakashalach takas avasecha yubanecha. So, and you'll tell me, that verse is very difficult because that verse proved to me that the case wasn't so difficult. Yeah. So on that we say, hahu bebracha ksiv. That was giving you a bracha. That where's the verse? The verse in Tehillim. And the Rashbam explains the verse is saying that tzaddikim are going to have children and grandchildren that are going to inherit him. That's all. That's all it was saying. Okay. Says the Gemara, mi matis amris bebracha ksiv. You can't really say it's going on a bracha. That it's a bracha. Why? Okay. Now we're going to prove that it has to be that a grandson is going to be a direct inheritor of the grandfather. The place we know that from is this verse. If I can prove to you from other cases that a grandson is direct inheritor of the grandfather, the only source that is this verse, it must be that this verse is not for a bracha, but rather teaching me a halacha. And therefore, we're back to the drawing board. What's this difficult case that came in from Eretz Yisrael? Okay, so says the Gemara, and it's not teaching you a halacha. How could that be? We had a case earlier, V'hatanan, changed the gears from Vatanya to Vatanan. Tanya is a brisa, Tanan is a Mishnah. So V'hatanan, nafal abayis, alav yal aviv. We know already the case was when a house fell on a father and a son. So now, or either it fell alav ve'al aviv, on him and on his father, or alav ve'al morishav. It fell on him and on people that are going to inherit him. So now, he owed a ksuba, or he had a bal chov, he owed people money, there were creditors that he owed money to, he was in debt. So now, fight breaks out. Your Ha'av, the inheritors of the father, say, listen, we want money. So the son died first, and then the father died. That way the father inherits whatever the son had, and now the father has, a few $1 million, and now we're going to inherit that. Ubal chov omer, and the guy who's owed money says, no. The father died first, and then the son inherited it, and then I get that money. Ha'av meis rishon, ha'achar meis haben. Okay, now let's define our terms. We had two cases over here. We had the son and the father, and the son and the people that are going to inherit the son. So now, who's who? My lav yorshe ha'av is bini, and morishav achi. So let's see, who are the Yorshei Ha'av and who are the Morishav? We have two cases in this Mishnah. We have the son and the father, right? And or the case was it fell on him and the people he's going to inherit. So who's who? So Ma'ilav Yorshei Ha'av, who are the Yorshei Ha'av? The one who are going to inherit the father. It's going to be his son, the grandson. And the Morishav, meaning, we have two cases here. The inheritors of the father, right? Meaning, the father and the son got hit by a house, right? So the house fell on them. The father's inheritors are coming and saying, we want the money. Who are those people? Oh, so right now we're suggesting it's going to be his sons, the father's grandson. Why would you say that? Because what's the other case? Him and the ones that inherit him. Who's that? That's going to be his brothers. So Ma'ilav Yorshei Ha'av is Bini, the grandson, and Morishav, the other case of the sons, ones are going to inherit the sons, that's going to be the guy's brothers. It's going to be, Reuben the son, it's going to be his brothers. So, yeah. So now, if that's the case, so you have V'isach Adaitach. If you're going to tell me Lo Matzi Amar Mikoch Avu the Abba Kasina, the Chiksiv Takas Avseka Yubanecha Bebracha Ksiv, if you'll tell me a grandson cannot come and say, I'm the direct inheritor of my grandfather, and the verse that I brought as a proof is only being brought as a blessing and not as a proof, and this whole fight makes no sense. Ki meis haben, let's say the son died first. V'achak meis av, right? The inheritors of the father, what do they want? They want the son to die first, and then the father to die. That way the father inherited the son, and now the inheritors of the father get all the money. V'achar kach meis av. So now, ki meis ben v'achar meis av, ma'i havi. Just because the son died and then the father died, so who cares? Ma'i havi. If you're the grandson now, can't the creditor just tell you, Name Elahu Balchov? He says, Yerushas Avun Kasha Kilna. But he says you can't take money that was inherited by your father. Meaning, your father died, and then the grandfather inherited you. You can't take that money. You're a grandson. What are you doing with this money? You only inherit your father if your father were to die first. But if 1 second, 1 second, I confuse myself. 1 second. Once again, the grandson's coming as the Yorshei Av. Yorshei Av are saying what? The Yorshei Av say that the son died first. So in this case, let's give names. So Yaakov was the father and Reuven was the son. They both got killed in the house. Chanoch, that's what the Rashbam uses. Chanoch is Reuven's son. So now, Reuven's son is coming and claiming that that my father died first, then my grandfather died, and I want the inheritance. So now we're saying, if a grandson cannot be the direct heir of his grandfather, so how's it going to work? So now, let's say he's a regular, before today, it's a regular case, right, before this new halacha. So what's going to happen now? If he claims that the son died first, right, so then he inherits his father, right? He inherits his father. If the son were to die first, meaning his father were to die first, so he inherits the father. So that's not a good argument. What he would really want would be his grandfather to die first, his father to inherit, his father died, then he gets it. So that we're saying. So now, so that's not an argument, right? So then we're saying, Name Elahu Balchov Yerushas Avu and Kashachina. Yeah, you could take your father's inheritance, but you could take your father's inheritance. You could take your father's inheritance. Yeah, Steve, what is it saying? Meaning you would take your father's inheritance, but you wouldn't get the whole package. You wouldn't get everything. So if you get your father's inheritance, so now you also owe me money, no? Let's see 1 second, please. Let's see 1 second. Right, up there. Thank you. So he says, let the creditor tell the court. So, right, the creditor can tell the court, so I'm just taking the inheritance of their father. Meaning, let's say it's a regular case. A father died, owed people money. And now the son wants that. Well, that money was already on a lien to the creditor. So the creditor has a very good claim, right? And yet we know the halacha is yachloku. You split it. You split the money. But this should be a regular case. So the fact that it's even an argument and we split it and we don't view it so clearly must be that you don't view the grandson as a regular son of the father. You view the grandson as a direct inheritor of the grandfather. Once he's a direct inheritor of the grandfather, so now a fight could break out. That's the, okay. So, yeah. So, says the Gemara. Yeah, name Balchov, Yerushas Avu and Kashakhan. I'm just taking the money. I'm just taking his father's money. That's he owes me money. So we say, and the fact that that doesn't happen must be, it's not such a simple case, must be that we don't view the son as a regular, inheritor of his father. We view him in this case as the inheritor of his grandfather. Now, yeah. So, okay. So, well, really, no. It's not a good proof. Why? Our Mishnah that said Yorshei Ha'av, who's that referring to? Yorshei Ha'av are the brothers. Maybe when it said the inheritors of the father, it means the other brothers. So Reuven's siblings. So Shimon says, Shimon is the one that says really Reuven died first, and then Yaakov died, right? So Reuven and Shimon are brothers. Reuven, the house collapsed on Reuven and Yaakov. So Shimon's saying, yeah, Reuven died first, and then Yaakov inherited him, and then we inherited Yaakov. So really, the Yorshei Av are the brothers, the Achiv. So then, who are the Morishav? Who are the ones Who are the Morishav? Who are the ones that are going to inherit Reuven? That's going to be Achi De'avua. That's going to be the uncles. The uncles are the ones that are going to inherit Reuven. So now Achi, meaning who's that? Yaakov's brothers. Esav. That's what Rashbam says. Achi Yaakov Esav, right? So now what happens? So now the house falls on Yaakov and on Reuven. So now they both die. Shimon comes to court, and Esav comes to court. So now Shimon comes to court and says that let's go the other way. Esav comes to court, the uncle, and says Reuven died first. Reuven died first, and then sorry. The house fell on either the son or the father. That's one case, or the house fell on the son or the people he's going to inherit. Right? Either the house fell on Yaakov and Reuven, or it fell on Reuven and on his Morishav. Who are the Morishav? We're saying now the Morishav is his uncle Esav. So now the inheritors of Esav, the inheritors of his uncle, they're the ones. So Esav's relatives are saying Reuven died first, and then Esav died, and we're going to inherit all of Esav's things, right? So that's that's the case. Yeah. So the Mishnah is either a case of the father and the son died, or either Reuben and Yaakov died, or Reuben and Esav died, and Esav's relatives are coming against Reuben's relatives, and they want the property. So that's the case, and therefore it's not a grandson, and therefore you don't have any proof. Okay, so at the end of the day, sounds like we leave a little bit unresolved what exactly this difficult case was. We tried, but yeah. Okay, new question. Probably 6:50 today. Yeah. Oof. Okay. Bo Menemer Rav Sheshes Ben Ma'osh Yirish Es Imo. What's with the son? Can he inherit his mother? The answer is yes, but that's when she dies and he inherits her. Can he inherit her in the grave? Meaning, Ma'osh Yirish Es Imo bekever lehanchi la'achin mina'av. So let's say the son were to die first, then the mother were to die, right? So the son should really inherit the mother. Can that inheritance go to his brothers? Can he inherit his mother in the grave, so to speak? So he inherits her, he dies first, then she dies. Can his brother step into his shoes and inherit from his mother? So he has paternal siblings, right? They don't share a mother, they share a father. Can they go inherit him? So now, Amar Alu Rav Sheshes Tinisua. Learn from the following case. Ha'av shenishpa, father got captured, and we're not sure. He died at some point. Umeis beno b'Medina, and his son died here, not overseas, but here in the in the country, here in the state. Uben shenishba, or a son went overseas, got captured at some point out. We don't know when. Umeis aviv b'Medina, but the father, we know he died here locally. So now, Yorshei ha'av v'yorshei ben yachloku. Halacha is, I think the Rashbam points out, it's only going according to the opinion earlier, according to Beis Shammai maybe. But we're saying now that that in this case, the halacha is yachloku, or at least they held yachloku. So now the father's inheritors and the son's inheritors each are coming to claim their inheritance. So we really don't know who died first. It's a real case of doubt. We split it. So it says, Heichidami, what's the case? So Ilema Kidikatani, If it's like we taught earlier that hey ninhu yorshei av, the hey ninhu yorshei haben, sorry, ilay mekidikatani. So yeah, so what's the case? Ilay mekidikatani, that what? That if it's like we're saying with a son and a mother, the son has no children, right? He died first, then the mother died. Now his brothers want to inherit. So heinin hu yorshei av, veheinin hu yorshei ben. So if he has no children, him or the father have no children. So then the krove ha'av, the Rashbam says, the relatives of the father will take everything, and if he has children, then the children will take everything. What's the case where there's a fight over here that broke out? If the father and son died, so what's the case? If the son has children, and his children will get it. If they have no children, then the relatives of the father will get it. Elalav hakikamer, like this. Av shenishba umes. The case is like this: a father was captured, umes, and then he died. Sorry, Av shenishba, a father was captured. At some point, he died. Umes ben bito ben Medina. The grandson died. The son of his daughter died, ben Medina, or the other way around. Ben bito shenishba, he was captured. The grandson, the daughter's son was captured. Umes avi imo. Umes avi imo ben Medina, and the grandfather, meaning the father of the mother, died at some point. V'lo yadina heiminayu meis bereisha. We don't know who died first. So yorshei ha'av, the yorshei haben, yachloku. There the halach is the yorshei ha'av. So these are the grandfather's relatives, and the yorshei haben are the grandson's relatives. Split it. Now, says the Gemara, the im isa, if it's true that a son could inherit his mother in the grave, so to speak, meaning that if she were to die first and he were to die, his inheritors can inherit the mother. If that were true, so then v'im isa nehinami de ben meis bereisha. Let's say the son died first. V'im isa nehinami de ben meis bereisha. Liyarte lahavua de imi b'kavrei ulirtinu la'achua min avua. Okay, we'll continue from this tomorrow and finish the parak. Shoo.